Hello, innovators. I'm Todd Wyant, and welcome to the Bridging the Gap podcast, sponsored by Applied Software. You're invited to join our MEP and construction innovation adventure with a mission to propel this great industry forward. My guest today is Steve King, product manager for Evolve Foresight, and a 30-year electrical contracting industry veteran. Welcome to the show, Steve.
Oh, thanks, Todd. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Yeah. Well, let's start with how you got into the construction industry to begin with.
Well, basically right out of high school, I went into the trades. So right out into the workforce and became an apprentice as an electrical apprentice.
Okay.
And so, I kind of worked my way up through there. And after 3 years, my fourth year of apprenticeship, became a foreman. Threw me right into the fire there because, I was a young kid right out of school being a foreman, and, most of my team was much older than I was. And so that was, a tough challenge. But, back then the craftsmen were just unbelievable, and they would share, everything they learned. They wanted to teach you about the industry and the trade craft. And so, I came in at a great time to learn from some really talented people.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. What do you think was the biggest thing there with the age dynamic? You said that you were, so much younger than everybody else that you were working with. How did that kind of play out?
Well, I think, it was tough because, seasoned guys, weren't into really taking some direction from a young kid, that entered the industry. But I think, overcoming that was just simply because, I was able to do the work. Like, I understood it. I was able to, run the projects properly. And over time, you gain their trust and and stuff like that. So it got easy over time, but it definitely was challenging at first. I mean, there was a lot of pushback against the young kid, jumping in and taking on that role. But eventually I worked through it, and I think I'm better for it. It was challenging, but good for me as well.
I imagine you had to go through a couple extra hoops and hurdles to prove that you knew your stuff too.
Oh yeah, they checked you. They checked you for sure. And my name was on a lot of Porta Johns too,
Nice. It's a measure of love, I'm sure.
It's another way to count them. Yeah, I used to go in there and count them. How many times you're on the Porta John, man? You're doing the right thing.
Nice, good success metrics there.
Yeah, exactly. I like it. Measure them up, man. Measure them up.
Yeah. Well, how do you think the construction industry is different now than back then?
Well, I think, the skilled labor shortage is certainly, setting that aside. I mean, that's a problem overall, but the speed of construction, continues to increase, and the owners and developers, they're shrinking that timeline, and, they want these projects delivered faster. And, ultimately what that means is the foreman they have to go faster. But, that's easy to say and want, but hard to do. Like you've got some big challenges today with new technology and design modeling and fabrication. These things didn't exist when I was a foreman in the field. You just didn't have that technology out there. So, I think it's a challenge for foremen today. They've got to embrace the technology first and foremost, and then learn how to effectively implement it on the job site. It's something that takes some work, and but it's here to stay, right? It's not technology is not going away, but
it's probably just going to get more.
Yeah, no, it's just going to increase, and it's a good thing. It's a good problem. With the design modeling, I didn't have that. We coordinated in the old-fashioned way. You just get with the foreman from each trade and figure out what we were doing. Coordination was on the job site. But today, your foreman today, they've got to make decisions far sooner than they ever had to before. They've got to make decisions about the construction, months ahead of when they're even going to do it. And so that's a huge shift from what they're currently doing in a lot of cases. I could, when I was in the field, I could visually see what the issues were, where I wanted to put my stuff. Today, today you're making those decisions in the model, right? So, that's challenging. And then you have to learn how to work with these design teams. I mean, how to collaborate And just as I was saying, it took some time for me to build trust with my team when I was a young foreman. Uh, the foreman today has to build trust in, the design team has to get trust of the foreman. They have to know that that the design coming out in the model is actually installable.
Mm-hmm.
And without that trust, it can be difficult, to learn how to collaborate well. But there's definitely big challenges today for that on that front.
What do you think one of the kind of the biggest challenge that's facing the foreman is?
Well, I think it's just the decision making, moving up front so far in advance. That's you've got to figure that out, because once it's in the model and everybody's signed off on it and the trades are out constructing, it becomes difficult and costly to change. So,
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest challenge is wrapped around technology for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You've got an older workforce out there. Some of them embrace it, some of them push back hard against it, and there's so many different capabilities. Like some foremen are technology savvy, and then you'll have some that will struggle turning on their computer. So it's really challenging. And but for those people, they have the knowledge, right? These the older foremen have been around for 15, 20 years. They have the knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So just figuring out how to embrace technology is, I think, the biggest challenge for them.
Yeah. How do you think that that challenge grows or changes headed into the new year?
Well, I think it grows for sure, because technology is just not going to stop. In fact, it probably moves faster than the foreman can actually implement it, or the MEP contractors decide to adopt the platform itself. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so once they make that decision on a corporate level, then you've got to run it down through your, craftsmen to be able to implement it. I mean, technology without the implementation on the job site, it does nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It can actually send you backwards in some cases.
Yeah. Well, and with 2020 being the year it has been, that technology has really just thrust it even more to the forefront for sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
What's the relationship like between project manager, purchaser, and the foreman?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it can be disjointed at times. All of those are demanding jobs. There's, on the operations side, you're kind of thrown into the fire, but they're all demanding. But
Mm-hmm.
the PMs today, they're managing probably more work than they should be. They're managing multiple projects, and they can fall behind as a result. And really, what that means is they're spending less time on the individual projects, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your purchasing departments are just, it's heavy volume for them. They're handling heavy volume of requisitions coming in. They're spending their day putting out fires, and they're receiving all these requisitions from the field. In many cases, they don't even have enough time, sufficient lead times to deliver them. I mean, the orders come in, the foreman wants them in, tomorrow, and they've got to make all this magic happen on the procurement side.
Yeah.
So and then the foreman, they're spending a ton of time trying to pull this all together, Todd. But in general, I think they're spending far too much time on non-installation tasks. So you have each one of these key players in a construction site that are focused on too much on their individual tasks, right? Everybody's trying to get what they got to get done today, but it definitely needs to become more collaborative, for sure.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned just there with the collaboration, ideally, what does that really look like? How's that relationship? How should it be?
Well, I think, everybody has a different meaning for what's good collaboration. I think, some probably think it's good and it's as good as it's going to get, but
Yeah.
I think everybody, you might think it's good, but you can feel it. Like, what good collaboration feels like, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
I think that is a focus, and I think you improve that through, better planning and improved workflows, and creating standardization in the operations side where people can understand what the other guy's doing. So there's, less confusion. And I think overall, all three, departments, the foreman, the PMs, and the purchasing departments, they really should spend a little bit more time focusing on eliminating roadblocks for each other.
Mhm.
And, if, because what I found out is that, if you take away the roadblocks for today's construction teams out in the field, they will perform. Like if they spend time on tools and they're, not doing, non-installation tasks, they will perform well and efficient.
Yeah. I love what you said there of removing roadblocks for others, because
Yeah.
it's so easy to be like, this is a roadblock for me, and then start complaining about it and, trying to
Yeah.
get other people to move your roadblock instead of
I
thinking
think,
of how can I do it for others?
yeah, I think that's what happens. And you get so involved in what you have to do today. And I just don't think enough time is spent considering the downstream effect of what you do today.
Yeah.
Like, what effect does this have on my field foreman if I do this? Like, this is going to kill him. Well, I do it anyway.
Right.
I mean, you got to think of that, because I think, at the end of it all, you're a team and you all have the same goal, to deliver that project on time, in the most efficient way possible, and make obviously the most profit. I mean, that's what they're in the game for. Construction is super high risk, and can be super low reward.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny, Todd, but I've been on projects, where they didn't go well, and I'd ask myself, it's great that I can put my name on the building. I donated all this time and money to this building. I didn't make a single dime on the project. Put my
Right.
plaque up there. No contractor wants to be, to hang in their plaque on the building and say they made no profit. I mean, you gotta work together. And I think, the construction industry is changing, and that's starting to happen. The tools are
Mhm.
becoming better, and I think, the collaboration is getting better for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think about what you're talking about right there is really taking collaboration from just the buzzword that everybody throws out there, but
Yeah.
nobody really unpacks, and making it more practical of look out for the other. We're all on the same team. Okay. We don't need to
Yeah.
have the big egos. You can check those at the door, even though it's hard.
Yeah. I'd see the boss come in, and the owner of the company or whatever, operations manager, whatever, come in and say,
Mhm.
and sit down at a meeting and say, guys, you got to start working together, collaborating, and then get up and walk out. Well, what does that mean? How do you do that? Like,
Right.
it's a good buzzword, but getting it done, man, is difficult. It's not easy.
Yeah. Devil's in the details there.
It is.
Collaboration's sticky and hard. And
It is hard.
yeah.
Yep.
What do you think a common myth about this whole process and the relationship that we were just unpacking there? What's a myth that could be debunked?
Well, I mean, I'm not sure how to answer that. It's probably a lot. I mean, a myth is, we are working together, right? We are collaborating, and just the reality on the ground says different. You
Uh,
know, I mean, it's. I don't even know if that's a good answer to your question, but it's certainly tough to pull off in the real world.
yeah. Uh, well, I think one of those kind of stumbling blocks is the job site uh, tends to. It seems like it can be overlooked pretty easily. That there's so much attention on the model and back in the office that the job site can often feel like they're not being paid attention, or they're getting overlooked, and they're just getting everything downstream. Uh,
Yeah.
do you think that that's fair in a reality?
Yeah, I think it can be, because the job site is, obviously out of sight, out of mind. It's out there. It's running every day. It's got crews on it, and your project managers take a trip out there once a week, right? So, they are kind of on an island. They're disconnected from the corporate office in most cases, and they don't travel there. But back when I was a foreman, we went to the office every week.
Hmm.
That was our communication. We were out on the job site. This is back in the day when you had a beeper. I mean, you probably don't even know
What's a
what that
beeper?
is. What's a beeper, right? So,
I think I've
and
seen it in movies or something.
yeah, a beeper, and you would have a bag phone. So, we would run up to the office on Thursday. We deliver our, material requisitions, a stack of them, and the project manager would give us some time, half an hour, and he'd say, okay, good luck, man. Keep fighting the good fight. You're doing well.
Yeah.
And you wonder if they ever really know how things are going, sometimes. And
Right.
so, you're kind of out there on an island, but, I think technology is bridging that gap a little bit. You're able to connect like we are here, I mean, so the technology is going to help that process out and really bring those teams together
Hmm.
in a simpler way.
Yeah. Why do you think it's an easy trap to fall in to kind of overlook the job site when that's at the end of the day, that's where the magic happens?
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about from a project manager's perspective, I think because of the day-to-day demands on your time and um, just the management it takes, forget about the job site, but the management of documents, project change orders, contracts, you know, um, problem solving and things like that. They don't really have. It's not that they don't want to do it. They just don't really have the time, um, to devote to spending, to understanding what the foreman's real problems are,
Hmm.
and diving into them, like to solve the problem. I mean, they hear the complaints, right, Todd?
Hmm.
They hear what's going on, and but they're not really saying, well, okay, tomorrow I'm gonna take away these roadblocks for you. I'm gonna get this done. You know,
Right.
it just doesn't happen, and it's because they're managing too much work overall. And but I think that's the answer. I think I'd rather see them manage a little bit less work, but manage the work that they are managing more effectively, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Oh yeah,
You know,
absolutely. It's kind of
you
every
know,
man for himself right now.
yeah, it can be. It can feel like that. Not
Yeah.
always, but it can.
Yeah. Well, let's shift a little bit and dive into some procurement and bill of material stuff. Why do
Sure.
you think it's important to have really a single bill of material?
Well, that's an easy one. I mean, you just have to break down and blow up the silos. I mean, they're just these bills of materials are everywhere. I mean, Um, and I do think a bill of material is a great ideal state. Like I think that's a place you want to be,
Mhm.
but I think most likely it's a future state for MEP contractors of today. I don't think they're there yet.
Mm.
I think they're trying to get there. I think technology can help. But there's just so many bombs that are created. Now you've got the design teams in Revit creating additional bills of materials that need to be looked into, but they're all in different formats, right? They're on an Excel spreadsheet, they're on a Word document. The vendors have sent in their bill of materials on PDF documents,
Yeah.
and so there's really no platform for them to, a single platform that they can be where everyone can access that information. And then God knows where these things are being stored in the contractor's office. Like, I've worked for quite a few and ran my own business for some time, and you know what? We're just not the best at document management. And sometimes you wonder if the project manager can even find a document he's looking for.
Probably not.
These files are brutal.
Yeah.
And so since that is the reality, it becomes really hard to share that information or to even make it available to share. It's all in different formats. And so um, I think there's a tremendous effort. Well, I don't think I know. There's a tremendous effort to manage all those bombs. Like everyone is doing it that's connected on the operations team. And in fact, there's a lot of, duplicate effort being, expended there. There's duplication all over the place. And
Yeah.
so, what and so, I always wondered, I said, it's not that we don't have time to run these projects in a more efficient way. It's just that we're doing too many things we shouldn't be doing, right? I
Mhm.
mean, we've got to get more streamlined. and standardized in the operations, inside the organization, so that everybody knows you're on the you're on the same page. And we were talking about communication earlier. When you're not on the same page, communication, the effort that it takes to communicate is huge, right? It takes more time to communicate these things through. And I'm in favor of less communication. I'm in favor of nonverbal communication that allows your teams to some visibility, so that communication is not needed at all. I mean, if you have the information that's available, it's accurate, it's actionable. What information, I mean, you have the information, so
Yeah.
you don't need to communicate. Communication becomes much simpler. And then the result of that, Todd, is you'll have more time to do important things instead of things that are just not that important.
Yeah.
You know,
So I want to clarify something. When you say less communication is a good thing, you're talking about having some sort of platform or single place where people can go and get the information that they want on their own when they want it, instead of
yeah,
having to ask the question.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, why should a foreman call a purchasing department and ask them when his material is going to be delivered? He
Right.
should just be able to look at it and say, "Oh, it's coming tomorrow," or
Right.
"It's coming 3 days from." That's the kind of communication. I mean, it's still communication, but it's just putting information where people can access it. A lot of the communication is just because there's no way to access the information. So,
Right.
you got to ask somebody. I think about it like a football team, right? You got 40 seconds to get another play off on the offensive side of the ball. And you got the quarterback, he runs into the huddle, and nobody knows the play. Nobody understands their jobs well. And then how many questions can be asked in a huddle before you get a delay a game? Like, this guy's got to get to the line. Like, we got to call a
Right.
play. We got to move. Like, I can't tell you what route you need to run. If you don't know what route you're running, man, I can't help
You're in
you.
bad shape.
You're in bad shape. So I mean,
Yeah.
think about that. It's just, and you know what? That's the way it feels sometimes. It feels like you're in a game and you just don't know where it's going. And
Yeah.
and these projects, the funny thing about construction I've learned over the years is when they spin out of control, there's no getting them back. Like,
Right.
when they take a path that is not ideal, it's hard to turn them around. And when you
It's like
get
moving a
past,
cruise liner.
it's moving a
it's,
cruise ship.
it's gonna be very slow.
That Titanic's hitting the iceberg, man. It's
Yeah.
going down. And after 50%, 60% complete, you just cannot turn that boat.
Yeah.
And at that point, you're in life-saving mode to really try to just deliver the project, in whatever shape you can get it done. I mean, the ship kind of sailed.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. And it's not like the technology doesn't exist in theory, because you have Amazon that you can look right on
Yeah.
and see exactly where your order is, where it's traveling to, where it's tracking you. You can do all that stuff.
Yeah.
But in the construction realm, what can really be done to kind of increase that visibility so people aren't flying blind?
Well, I think, that's why we went out and, starting to develop Foresight. I mean, I think what, Foresight will be able to provide that type of platform where,
Mm-hmm.
first and foremost, you can put some standard practices and workflows into the material procurement process. Like, you can, Foresight will do that. And I think that's where we're starting. We're trying to, you know, build a platform where they can get the information that they need when they need it. They can deliver information to the project team, from the field efficiently. You can, instead of sending, text messages and emails and Excel documents to the office, that you can't send those to vendors. And oftentimes you got to recreate them and rework them and do all these things. So we're trying to eliminate all of that and provide a real effective way, to improve the material procurement process. And that's what we're after in Foresight. Really just trying to help our customers go faster by giving them that access to, real time accurate information that they can do something with. I mean, that's the goal. And I think, um, there's a big savings to contractors if we can get this right. I mean, you're going to eliminate non-value added work, and that's, in order to install more efficiently, you have to eliminate non-value added work because you can't add more time to the workday. It's an 8-hour day. You just have to find efficiencies, and it comes in small chunks, right? But when you start to add those small things up, they get big real fast when you have, 200, 300 electricians in a company out there on job sites every day.
Yeah, for sure. So let's back up for a second. What is Evolve Foresight in a nutshell?
Well, Evolve Foresight is a material procurement platform, basically that starts at the design side, captures those design bill of materials, and tracks them all the way through the workflow to delivery and receiving at the job site. So it's a complete workflow, and in a nutshell, it just provides a really good way, a good platform for materials procurement, and that is the focus right now so we were talking about all those bombs that you have.
Yeah.
With Foresight, you could have a singular bomb in Foresight. You could get to that point, but the at first my goal would be, let's reduce the number of bombs that there is. Let's reduce them. To get them to one is difficult, but let's get them down. Let's reduce them down. Spend less time and effort chasing things, and just delivering
Baby
efficiency
steps.
to the contract. Baby steps. You gotta do it in baby steps.
Yeah. So what's the kind of the main driver and motivation behind developing this new platform for you?
Well, for me personally, I've lived through these challenges my entire life. Like as I'm working on Foresight now, and we're developing, and I'm saying, God, I wish I had this tool. When I came out, I was writing material requisitions on 3-part forms. One part for me, one goes to the office, one goes to the guy that's got to receive the products. And so what we really want to do is get away from all the different ways in which Foreman can send in requisitions to the purchasing departments, and get that standardized. So every foreman in the company is sending the same thing the same way. And then you create the visibility around that, and now you start to achieve efficiency. And that's really what drives me. I've lived through non-efficiency. So for me, it's all about, how can I help make the foreman's life easier? That's what I'm trying to do. That's what I was for a long period of time. And so, I'm trying to make their lives easier. And so, that's my driving motivation for building Foresight.
Nice. You hinted at it a little bit in your last answer there, but how's Evolve Foresight really going to open up the lines of communication between job site and purchasing?
Yeah, well, I think, we started out first by building an instant messaging platform where you basically can communicate through the system with your project team. So it's project-based communication that is for the people on that particular project. So when you're sending messages and communicating with your team, you're communicating with that project team.
Nice.
So you're, it's very simple to see, who's doing what's happening, what needs, what problems are out there. Where I talked about taking away some roadblocks. I mean, instantly here, when I receive some materials at the job site and they're broken or defective or whatever the case may be, I can get on the system, send a message to my purchasing department and say, hey, this material was damaged today, it needs to be replaced. Just, get away from texting in an emailing inbox. Like, I want to blow up my email. Like everybody,
wouldn't that be nice?
nobody needs more emails. And so, we've got to get them communicating inside of the system where there's accountability, right? I mean, when you can see, like, I don't know too many project managers that, when they see a problem come in from their foreman, that they wouldn't want to take care of it. Like, they do want to do this stuff. So I think we just have to, but if you bury that in an email inbox, the project manager's getting 50 emails a day. And oftentimes it's not that they don't want to help. They missed the email or they didn't see it, or, so I just think, building out those collaboration tools is a big part of Foresight. And then, we didn't talk about it, but really one of the key things that I'm trying to do here is bring the vendors into the product itself. So
Mm.
right now, communication with your vendor exists by sending them emails, picking up the phone and calling, or even texting those guys too. We want to bring them into the system and make them part of the part of the team and put them inside of Foresight. So um, I think what's interesting about what we want to do is that all of our vendors today have vendor portals where the contractor can go into their portal, log in from the backside, and see delivery information or statuses of orders and things like that. The problem with that is the contractor is dealing with 8 or 10 vendors. They're not going to go to each vendor's site to collect that information. It's too difficult. So what Foresight will set out to do is create a contractor portal where our vendors will join our portal and deliver us the information we need inside of our platform. That way our customer doesn't need to go outside to these vendor portals to get the information. The vendors communicate it directly into us through the portal, and which really the goal here is to get real-time information from them. And I
Nice.
think that's really a cool thing that's going to happen here. It won't be out in version 1, but will be right up there on the top of the list of things to do for version 2.
Nice. So is Foresight the goal then really to become like a communication hub for the project team and then with the vendors as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We want to, the other thing about the hub is we want to deliver them the information in a way that they can use it efficiently as well. Like we're all looking for efficiency. Like I want to send my requisitions to them through the portal, and they can receive them immediately as soon as they come in. They can receive them, they can import them into their system and deliver us the quotations and orders and all the things that we need. So really just a main hub where, everything is coming together, everything's going out, everything's coming back, very organized way, very simple way. And I think it'll be a success because the vendors today, they want to deliver better services to the contractor, but sometimes there just isn't a way to do it. And I think this portal that we're setting out to develop will be a way that our vendors can deliver top level services to the contractor, and and really gain efficiency for both sides. And what that means is just bottom line profits, right? All the stuff we're talking today is bottom line profit increases, and that's real money to our customers, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's the name of
Raise
the
that.
game in construction.
It's the name of it, Todd. Raise the profit percentage 1% across the company on all their projects. This is serious. This is serious money. Like it doesn't have to be 20%, and it won't be. It's got to come in small chunks, and through real solid process and innovation. We can deliver that.
Yeah, 1%. That's nothing to sneeze at. That's
It
a
is
lot of
not.
cash coming back.
It's a lot, and it's bottom line cash.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, how can
Yeah.
people find out more information on what Foresight is and sign up for being a beta tester?
Well, you can go to Evolve MEP. You can go to our website and at evolvemep.com, and you'll find Foresight there. Or you can email me directly at steve.king@evolvemep.com. And yeah, we're setting out. I'm glad you mentioned that. We're setting out to get a beta testing out here in early January. Actually, I think it is now. So anybody interested in joining the beta program, we'd welcome them.
Awesome. Well, cool. Well, last question I got for you. What does innovation mean to you?
Well, innovation means work. Innovation means a lot of work, but I believe in it. I'm an innovator myself. I love it, and I think the construction industry needs it badly. We're slow to innovate, and so we need we need things like bridging the gap. We need what you're doing to push this industry to another level. And I think there's so much room for innovation that sometimes there's some pretty low hanging fruit that's out there that you can grab. And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks so much for taking the time, Steve. I enjoyed the
Yeah.
conversation.
No, I've enjoyed it. I appreciate you having me on, and thanks again.
Yeah, absolutely.